Hi again, everybody, and welcome back to Enjoy English School. I'm Bruce.
大家好，我是 Bernice.
Today is day 2. I hope you saw or listened to our lesson yesterday because it was the first place we're introducing of 2 places that are quite special, definitely. Yesterday we went to Germany. In the southeast of that country, in Bavaria, is a small town, Nördlingen, which was built over 1,000 years ago and was built with stones that contain very, very tiny diamonds. And so the town, many of the buildings in the town shine. And you and I might, I'm amazed, but the people there think, nothing special.
OK.
Today we're going to visit another very special place.
好，我们在 DAY2 学到了这个璀璨之城。那我们今天呢，要进入到第2个非常特殊的城市喽。
Diamond in the rough. On the other side of the world, there is a special town called Bernice. It sits in South Australia, and it gets its name from the Aboriginal term Kupapiti. This means something like white man's hole. The small town in South Australia is far from just about everywhere. Although Aboriginals lived in the area, the town's history began in 1915 when opals were discovered in the region. Opal mining drew large numbers of Europeans who began digging and looking for riches. The town is located in the Australian desert. There are no trees and almost no plants. In order to survive in this environment, miners built cave homes under the ground. The area doesn't just have underground homes, though. There are 2 underground churches as well. Today, about 60% of the people in this town live underground. The rest live in more typical homes above the ground. Although people still mine at Bernice, tourism is equally important these days. Besides tourism, Bernice has also become known for green energy. Its local power plant uses both wind and solar power to provide energy for the locals.
Okay, first paragraph of day 2. On the other side of the world, we started yesterday in Germany, in Europe. Now we're going to the other side of the world. The world is not a square or a cube, but it's a long distance from Germany to Australia. And we're going to a town I'll bet you never heard of, Bernice.
Oh.
And we'll find out why this is special in a moment.
好的，所以我们接下来呢，在 DAY1 的时候，我们讲到我们要去德国，那接下来我们要到世界的另一端了，那就表示很远很远的一个地方，另外有一个非常特殊的城镇，我们把它称之为库珀佩蒂。
And it, the town, sits in South Australia, and it gets its name from the Aboriginal term Kapapiti. First, South Australia. Australia is big. I figured it out once. It's 200 times the size of Taiwan.
Wow, 200 倍.
And it has fewer people. Oh, no, now it has about the same population as Taiwan. And it has 5 or 6 states only, unlike the United States, which has 50 states. I can't remember now, 5, 6 states and 1 territory. They are huge. And South Australia is what you would expect. If this is Australia, this part of Australia is the state of South Australia. There are Aboriginal people, the people who have been living there for thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of years. And they have their own name for this very special place. We call it a term. A term is a special use of words, That's all it really means. And I don't know this Aboriginal language. So Kapapiti is what it looks like if we use the usual European pronunciation for these letters.
OK， 好，所以这个城镇呢，它的位置 sit in 就是它的位置是在哪里？它坐落在这个南澳大利亚的地方。那如同刚才老师讲，它是一个很大很大的地区。好，那当时呢，他们本来就他们的就是原住民住在那边几千年了，甚至几万年都待在那边，所以他们当时就给他们自己本身的一个土著的这个用语。term 就是一个专业的用语，就是叫后面这个 Kupapiti 这个用语。
Kupapiti, this means something like, now that tells us it's very hard either to understand the Aboriginal language or it doesn't translate very well. There's, for example, 粽子, which I love. And then my American friends will ask me, what is it? And
很难翻译
terrible,
很难翻译
terrible.
没错
So I said, I'll buy you one, and you eat it, and you'll know.
吃了就知道了，对不对？
Oh, so good. Anyway, this means something like, from the Aboriginal language into English, white man's hole. A hole is usually something which is removed. You can have a hole in a piece of fruit. You can have a hole in the ground. You can have a hole in my bank account. And I don't know why they have white man's here.
Yeah, 为什么用白人哈？
Because the Aboriginals are from, we're not quite sure, actually, and they've been there for thousands and thousands of years. They may have come from Southeast Asia. They may have come from South Asia. They might have come from Africa. Or all three, we don't know.
好，所以因为它已经是非常非常久远的一个历史了。总之呢，刚才的这样子的一个土著语呢，它的这个意思呢，就是类似啦。哈，我们近似大概把它翻译一下，就是白人的洞，就这样子。
The small town in South Australia, Kupapiti, is far from just about everywhere. Which is another way to say it is distant from almost any other place you can think of.
没错，所以它这个小小的城镇呢，好远好远啊 ，far far away，OK， 所以是非常非常远的一个城镇了。
And South Australia, I should mention, most of it is a desert. And that's one reason there are so few people and one town is far from another. When I was there, I took my son. We went from Adelaide in South Australia. We took the train. There's a wonderful train and excellent service. It goes to a town somewhere in the desert, and then it turns and goes to the west coast of Australia, Perth, and the state of Western Australia. And it was a 47-hour train ride.
My God, 47 hours， 好可怕哦。
Okay. Although Aboriginals lived in the area, as I said, they lived all over. And like in North America and most countries, South America, Africa, there were many, many, many different tribes, and they had different languages as well. The town we are talking about was set up by the white man visiting it, the Europeans, mostly English at first, in 1915, just before World War I, when opals were discovered in the region. Opal is a special stone. It depends on who you talk to, but for some people, the opal is a gemstone, like diamond or ruby. And for others, no, it's not a true gemstone, but it's a valuable stone. They're not cheap. They are mostly milky white, a very pure, like cream, with pieces of other rocks in them that do shine, like a diamond or sapphire, ruby, and so on. And they're all different colors. And as you turn the stone, you can imagine almost like, remember in the discos when they had those lights going around, something like that.
OK， 好，所以呢，虽然呢这个土著呢在当地已经居住了这么样的久的时间了，可是呢这个城镇其实它真正的历史呢是在1915年的时候才开始的。那个时候刚好呢就是他们发现了在那个 region， 在那个地区，刚才老师讲了 South Australia 它是一个沙漠地区，那在这个地区他们就发现到了，我们中文是把它翻成蛋白石，哎呀，就是像刚才老师讲，它有点 milky， 它的颜色有点像乳白状的那个颜色，但是你如果这样转过来看，它会很多不同的颜色出现，这样子。
Opal mining, to mine, M-I-N-E, means to dig in order to take something out of the earth. The mining drew large numbers of Europeans, not just the original English, but other people as well, who began digging, making holes, trying to find opals, and looking for riches, because opals, good quality opals, are not cheap. They're not as expensive as diamonds or rubies, but I can't afford one, so you can imagine.
对了，所以他这边就讲了，当时呢，因为这个蛋白石被发现了，所以就有很多的这些drew 就是吸引过来了，吸引过来大批的这些欧洲人呢，他们就开始去做这个采矿，去开采，把它挖出来。那这些人呢，开始为什么要他们去挖呢？就是要发财吗？要找到钱啊，要有财富的地方。那刚才像老师讲，这个蛋白石确实它非常的贵重，所以大家就急忙的去那边开采，把它挖出来，去寻找到 riches， 记得加 es， 就是指财富、财产的意思。
Okay, that finishes our first paragraph. We'll take a short break. When we come back, the big paragraph. Okay, welcome back, and let's take a look at the rest of the article, the last two paragraphs. The town, Coober Pedy, is located in the Australian desert. Not hard to do. Over half of Australia is a desert.
好，所以这个城镇呢，它的地区呢，它位在什么地方呢？ Is located in， 也可以用 is situated in。我们刚才在前面一段有讲过的，它位在的就本来就是在澳大利亚的这个沙漠区，因为刚才老师讲，大部分都是沙漠的地区。
There are no trees and almost no plants. That train ride I took my son on, there was a long, I don't know how many hours we went along. It was all desert. We didn't see a single tree, maybe for half a day.
My God. 半天都看不到，什么都看不到，没树，也没有任何的植物。
In order to survive in this environment, as we know, deserts are really a tough place for animals and plants. Miners built cave homes. A cave is a hole in the ground or in the mountain, under the ground. So they actually dug down into the ground and removed all the dirt and built their homes under the ground.
对，所以呢，当时的这些矿工们，因为你知道吗，沙漠地区它是很难生存下来的，所以他们为了要在这样的一个环境底下可以存活下来，所以呢，这些矿工们呢就开始建造一些所谓的洞穴房屋。那我们刚刚讲这个 cave homes， 可能是在地底下，也可能在山的里面，这样挖一个洞。那他们是挖在那个地的下面 ，under the ground.
The area doesn't just have underground homes, though. In other words, not everyone in Coober Pedy lives underground.
所以这边的 though 是指然而可是，可是呢，不是说它这个地区所有的地方，就是它只有它不是只有这个就是建在地下的这些房屋。
One difference here is there are 2 underground churches as well.
Wow.
Now, a church is a building. We do not call church, we don't usually refer to a church as a house. When you hear a house, we think of one family or a large family living in one building that we call a house. But a church is a building. We don't usually call it a house.
没错，所以呢，这个 church 就像老师讲，它只是一个建筑物，所以呢，它的下面不是只有我们讲的 house， 它还有什么呢？还有2间在地下的这个教堂。
Today, about 60% of the people in this town live underground.
Wow.
So most of the people, but not all.
对，所以不是全部的人，大概呢有60%啊，这个城镇的这个居民都住在地底下面，都变忍者龟了。
So what about the other 40%? Well, the rest, the other 40%, live in more typical homes above the ground, the kind you would see in other Australian cities or European cities or here in Taiwan. The building is on the ground and you walk into the building and maybe there are many stories, but you don't live underground.
对，所以呢，剩下的40%的居民呢，他们还是住在这个地上，就是他们很典型平常的这个房子里面了。
Although people still mine at Coober Pedy, now here mine is used as a verb. The hole that miners dig is called a mine. Then we have the person who does this, the miner. The miner mines the earth and creates a mine.
所以老师讲到 mine 这个字的词类变化，刚才学到是它的名词，就是矿工、采矿的人。那现在呢，这边是当成这个动词的采矿。所以虽然呢，现在的他们这些居民呢，依旧在这个城镇里面呢，还是有采矿这样的一个事业。可是呢，其实呢，他们这个 tourism，旅游业呢，也是同等的这个重要的了。
Yeah, many people are attracted. They don't want to dig the earth or live in the desert, but there are many stores, of course, which will sell opals. And I haven't been here, so I don't know what a house under the ground looks like. And so I might be interested in that as a tourist.
没错，所以我们当观光客就是要去城镇里面发现一些不一样，我们觉得很特别的一些东西。
Besides tourism, other than tourism, Coober Pedy has also become known for green energy. This is a fairly new term. It refers to energy we can get from natural sources without burning them. That would especially include sunlight, solar power, and wave power. And wind power. Those are all considered green energy. They don't pollute.
没错，好，所以我们这边除了这个旅游业之外，就像老师刚才讲 other than 也是一样，除了什么之外呢，这个城镇呢，同时啊，也因为什么事情而出名呢？ become known for 就是 famous for 什么东西呢？ green energy。那这个绿色能源呢，就是老师刚才讲，它不会污染我们的环境的，像风啊、水啊这些东西所产生的一些电力。
Its local power plant, its refers to Coober Pedy's EPAS, the town's local power plant. Plant here is often used when we talk about the production of energy. Another use for it and similar is factory, but we don't say power factory. We always say power plant. Uses both wind and solar power. You can see solar is a featured word here. It really is the adjective of sun, S-U-N. Now, sunny means there are no clouds. You can see the sun all day if it's a sunny day. But solar refers to things like power, or in 天文学, in astronomy, we talk about solar wind and all kinds of things. So the word sun has two adjectives, sunny and solar. And the power provides energy for the locals, of course, because whether it is wind or solar power, it's free and it's clean and it can support the people who live there.
好，所以我先解释一下，刚刚 Bruce 老师讲这个 sun 太阳这个字有两个形容词 ，sunny 是形容这个天气阳光普照的，没有任何的云。那么 solar 这个字是形容词，是跟太阳相关的，比如说它的电能啦或等等的。所以在这边呢，就是指这一个城镇它的当地的居民呢，他们的 power plant 就是他们的发电厂 plant 就是指工厂，当然像老师讲，也可以用 factory， 但是我们通常不用plant factory， 因为 plant 是比较大型的这种工厂，那它用的呢就是风还有这个太阳能的这个能量来怎么样提供当地人的 locals， 就是 the local people， 提供给这个当地人呢他们的这些能量 provide something for somebody，如果你把人放到前面，就是 provide somebody with something， 好，就是提供某人某物的意思。
哦，听老师讲的 that's a very important and
我们都很棒
useful very useful. A couple of things. The power plant, PP, that's easy to remember. Don't say power factory. And provide something to someone or provide something with something. Provide someone with something. Very common usage, very useful usage as well. Okay, that's it for the text. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we will review what we think are the more important words for you.
Okay.
Okay, welcome back. Now let's take a look at some of the more useful words or more important words at this level of English. We're not going to have words like it or the. We've got words that are more difficult and we don't see them very often or not as often as others. The first is term. A term actually has more than one meaning. Here it refers to a special use of language. We often talk about a medical term, and that means it's language used by doctors and nurses because most common people wouldn't know these terms. So it's a special use of language. Another meaning of term has to do with a period of time. So in many countries, a president can have 1 or 2 terms, and the term may be 4, 5, or 6 years.
所以这边老师讲到 term 有2个意思，在我们这一个单元里面的 term 是指专业术语，通常专业术语就是非专业的人都听不懂你在讲什么，所以你一定要解释给他听。比如说一些 medical terms， 我们又不是医生，我们根本听不懂他讲什么。那第2个 term 是刚才老师讲的这种期间任期，所以像有一些这个国家，他就讲说，比如说这样子的一个国王，他可能有2个任期 2 terms 这样子。
Right. Okay. Also, at the end of the first paragraph, first we have mining. And as I said, miner, M-I-N-E-R, is the person who mines, who digs holes in a mountain or in the ground. Mining refers to the process or the industry of doing this. The other word in the same sentence, of course, is dig. Here we have ing form. Dig is to remove often soil or rocks from a place to make a hole or to build a road. We have to dig out stones and then put in our own materials.
所以 dig 就是挖的意思，那就跟采矿是一样。所以我们刚才讲的 miner 就是这些采矿的工人，然后他们要去做采矿的这个动作是 mine， 所以一个动词，然后一个是名词的用法。
Okay, next paragraph at the beginning, the town is located in. And Bernice has already mentioned, we can also say is situated in.
都是位在什么地方。
Next word, survive, means you are able to live. You are able to exist.
就是你能够存活下来。
And here is miners, which I just mentioned. Also, cave. We often think of cave as a natural hole, usually in a mountain.
对，所以 cave 我们指洞穴，不过通常就是很天然形成的，在山里面你会看得到的。
Miners do not dig a cave. They dig a hole or a mine. Next, underground is a compound word. Under is beneath, and ground is usually ground is on the surface of the land. Under it or beneath it can be very different from what's on top of it.
没错，所以一个是地面，地面上哈，那另外就是在地下的。
And our last word, which we discussed in detail earlier, solar. again, is one of two common adjectives from the noun sun.
所以 solar 呢是 sun 的形容词，然后是指跟太阳相关的。
Okay, we have to stop here. Besides, I have to go to the travel agency. I want to go I want a ticket to Nordlingen and then to Kuber.
Okay, good. Count me in. 我也要去。
Yeah. Okay, until the next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.